My name is Gianni Russo, a.k.a. Carlo, the infamous son-in-law from The Godfather. I'm now known as the Hollywood Godfather, and this is my story.
Before all of the wins in my portfolio, I was a little boy diagnosed with polio. Experimenting with cures, I tried every one. Felt everything in my right, but my left was numb. Walking with a limp, like will I ever run? Once again, or is this it? Am I forever done? Living in the hospital was never fun. Some people were cool, but not everyone.
Welcome, everybody. It's time for another Hollywood Godfather podcast. We're getting close to 300 hours up. You know that?
No, that's
290 something hours of shows. I can't believe we're doing this for 6 years. It's amazing.
You know, that's right. I was trying to remember, somebody asked me how long I've been doing this, and I said, I don't know. So I'm going to have to go back and look.
Yeah, please. You were the best addition to the whole show.
Oh, you're sweet. You're very
Thanks,
nice.
sir.
Thank you. You know, and I don't know
True.
if everybody knows. I don't know if you're listening, you can. We've got the video version and we've got the audio version. So if you've never seen us before, well, of course you've seen Gianni before, but you can watch this on YouTube. You can get the video version or the audio version. So that's it.
Do we have a big video audience? I don't even know.
We have a lot of people that watch on YouTube.
Yeah.
My sister watches on YouTube. My daughter listens audio. My son, I think he's on the Apple podcast and watches it on the Apple podcast video version. So we've got a good mix of everything coming from my side anyway.
Yeah, well, thank God for your audience.
Well, yeah, it's fun. I love it because you know, I forget about it and they'll say, "Oh, I loved your show the other day." And so it's kind of fun to see.
Oh, yeah, no, please.
In fact, I'm training a new gal at work, and our IT guy said, "Tell her to tell you about her podcast and who she's working with."
Well, good.
Yeah,
Good.
it's fun.
So
Get the
you're
word out.
becoming a celebrity on your own right. I like it.
Right. Well, and it's fun because the more people that hear about us, the more people that see our show, the more questions they have, and the more show ideas we have.
Oh, yeah, no, please. Definitely.
Which is great because today's show is all because of one of you guys sent in a question asking Gianni to tell us more about Connie Francis. So
And yeah, that question came from the show we did about Bobby Darin.
that's exactly right.
Nobody realized that Bobby Darin and Connie Francis was an item early on in life. And
Well,
he was basically a songwriter before a performer.
boy,
And
he
he gave
was
her a hit song.
right. And he was incredible. What he did in such a short time. If you guys didn't hear the podcast about it, then go back and listen. It was a great conversation about Bobby Darin, and what a unique experience he had in life because he knew he was not bound to be to live long, and so he just took the bull by the horns.
His contribution to the entertainment field is amazing, which we're going to get into because it crosses over to Connie's life. At the first part of it, well, let's just get into the show.
Yeah.
The show we're talking about is Connie Francis, which is interesting. She was born December 12th,
Oh, you're kidding.
1937. I can't believe how many entertainers were born on that day, Sinatra being the king of it all. But she was born 12/12/37. And her real name, you're not going to believe. I'm going to be wearing my glasses through most of the show. There's so much reading here. But her real name was Concetta Rosemaria Franconero.
Wow.
So what I dissected was Concetta was C-O-N. That's where they got N-N-I-E. And
Oh, wow.
Francesca, the last name of the real name is Conorero. So it's Francis. Francis. That's how they got that.
Wow.
So she's known as Connie Francis. But most people don't know, in the 50s and 60s, she was estimated at selling over 100 million records already.
Oh, you're kidding.
100 million.
Wow.
Yeah. She was
What
the
a
first
beautiful,
woman in the history of Billboard magazine to be on the cover.
really?
No, I mean, it's the stuff about this lady goes on and on and on. But
And
what I got to know her early on for all the wrong reasons.
uh-oh.
Her father, George, for 30 years was her manager. And talking about Bobby Darin and her had a fling.
Yeah.
And the father was such an overbearing guy. Bobby Darin convinced her to run away with him. And the
Oh, wow.
father heard about it. He confronted Bobby Darin with a gun. He said, "Stay away from my daughter, I'll kill you." And unfortunately, the father didn't realize Bobby Darin was already around certain people and they didn't want nothing to happen to him. So the guy who I was around, Frank Costello, has this guy at the Waldorf Astoria where he held his business, most of it, that he didn't want the FBI to listen in tape. He called this guy in, and her father's name was George Franconero, and he was her manager for 30 years. And he told him, is if anything happens to Bobby Darin, you're dead. I
Oh,
was
wow. Well, I do remember reading that Connie Francis was afraid for what her father would do. And that kind
oh
of cut
no,
the
yeah.
relationship, and it was on the sly from then on out.
Well,
That's
yeah,
right.
and she was taking singing lessons and recording lessons when she was 3 years old. The
Oh
father
my
was
gosh.
grooming her all that time. I can't believe it. I mean,
3 years old, my gosh. Well, and what a beautiful woman. I looked her up when we started talking about Bobby Francis, and what a beautiful lady. They were such a cute couple.
oh no, I mean they were, but obviously
That didn't
that went
last.
nowhere. Well, she got
Right.
married 4 times, though.
Oh, wow.
She was married 4 times, and her last marriage, they adopted a son, which I
Oh,
don't think I want to give up his name, but he's now 50 years old. She's still alive, She lives in Florida.
oh, wow.
Yeah, she's still alive and well. So,
That's cool.
but there's so much about her. But Bobby, as we just mentioned, was her mentor, and it was such a great songwriter. He contributed so much music to the industry itself. It's crazy. But I met her early on. In 1960, she was headlining at the Copacabana.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I couldn't believe it. And that's when I met the father, and then I heard all the other stories. But I stayed friends with her for all that time. But it's George wouldn't let her date anybody. In fact, he didn't even let her go to her prom.
Oh,
He
gee.
wanted her around nobody because he was building this girl to be a superstar, and she did become that, and
Right.
very wealthy. And as I said, she's still alive. And Bobby Darin learned the hard way to stay away. But as you mentioned earlier, Bobby, as we'll get to, and I wanted to save that to the end basically because it's a great story, but basically it's a sad story because our audience will find out he knew when he was going to die, and it was from a childhood thing. He had rheumatic fever, which I had.
Oh, you're kidding.
Yeah, I got it while I had polio.
Oh,
You
you're
knew
kidding.
that? So I mean, I still have residual from it, but today we have so much, doctors care. Thank for New York Presbyterian. I'm there once a month. I'm always in that hospital. Long story short, I mean, when you start to listen to what she's done in her career and the movies she's made, as you know, and as I pointed out, to be a headliner at the Copacabana at such a young age,
That's
and I
crazy.
got to know her from a distance, but it's crazy. But her father had a vision, and that was it.
Now, was she known more for being an actress or a singer
No,
or
a singer.
both? Oh,
No,
yeah.
a singer. No, because of the fact, as I said, as a teenager, she sold over 100 million albums. I mean, you think about that, that's insanity.
Wow.
You know, her biggest hit, like when she sang Mama, I think every Italian in the world bought it.
Oh,
You
I'm
know,
sure.
yeah, and then she had crazy things which brought her into the pop years of Something Stupid and all those kind of songs. But she, it was as amazing as far as what she was able to do. And but again, it was her father for 30 years that was the master behind it all.
Wow. That's incredible. To think of what a wild different life she would have had she had a little more leniency to do what she wanted, but it sounds like her dad kept her on the right track and she was
But
in.
and even in saying that, like you said, he kept her on the right track, but she had 4 marriages.
Yeah, how did she sneak
I
those
mean,
in?
well, no, he approved the one guy he approved of. I happen to know, and I'm saying, why would he approve this guy? Talking about Caesar's Palace, the guy's name is Izzy Marion, and he had the concession, the beauty concession, because he knew people, and he owned the salon in Caesar's Palace, and he was more of a wannabe than anything else, and it was so funny because he got involved in my life indirectly.
Oh, yeah.
Because one time I was leaving the Circus Maximus where Sinatra appeared, and I come down the steps to go to the bathroom because the bathroom was outside of the showroom, and I see this pretty little girl standing at the end of the steps, all by herself, right next to the jewelry store. So I went over to her. I said, "What are you doing?" She said, "Well, Mr. Sinatra is appearing here in this room up the steps." I said, "Yeah." And she's my mother and I. And then here comes this lady. Now, this little girl I'm talking about looked angelic, blonde, little blue suit, holding a handbag. Maybe she was like 18, 19. And here comes this lady with her hair all teased out, black hair. You would never think it was her mother. And she said, "Oh, this is my mother." And I'm looking, I'm saying, I thought it was her madam. I didn't, maybe she was pimping her out. I don't know what was going on.
Oh, no.
I swear to God. And I said to her, I said, great. I said, "So where are you from?" And they said, they were from Rhode Island. So I called Angelo, who always stood at the top of the steps. He was the maitre d'.
Oh, yeah.
I said, "Angelo, come down." He come down. I said, "Take these people, put them on my table." Well, they said, "Well, we have someone else." I said, "Who is it?" She says, "My husband." I said, "Oh, okay." So they waited for the husband and they were sitting at my table. So I never went and stayed in the showroom for, because I saw Sinatra every time he was there. And at that time, he had a guy called Pat Henry opening for him. Well, I knew his jokes better than he did. I was going to sit for that. But by the time I got to the table, they were like, kibitzing back and forth, and they seemed very nice. So this you're not going to believe. This was August 7th, June 17th was Father's Day. I remember it like it was yesterday. And I came to Vegas for a reason other than that. But that night at that table, I said to the mother and father, as I'm going to marry your daughter. I just talked to her. They said, "What?" And what really got the mother crazy is that by that time, Sinatra was already talking to me off stage, We went through the whole thing, JFK election by that time. All this is going on. And he's always, and anybody that was on stage, but this time it was just him up there, not the Rat Pack. But even when the Rat Pack there, was to talk to me, the kids here, the kids in the audience, which was great for me because, it got me a lot of attention from women that I wanted the attention from.
I'm
So
sure.
I said, yeah, I'm going, and then I told them to meet us at the pool the next day. And we had a section in the back near the back of the pool where the cabanas were. And sure enough, they're getting the sun. And Sinatra used to pop down late afternoon. Now that sealed the deal. The mother, I could have did anything. I walked into anything because I knew Sinatra. I married this lady. This story is so insane. I married this girl 60 days to the day, August 19th, at St. Mary's Church in Providence, Rhode Island. I had a big wedding at the Biltmore Hotel, and I gave the mother and the father, before they left Caesars to go arrange it, I gave them 15,000 cash. I said, if you need any more money, just let me know. I don't expect you to pay for my wedding. So they called me. This is the funniest story in the world. And meeting her father, his nickname was Ducky, like Donald Duck. And he was like a wannabe wise guy. And I knew everybody up there. I used to go see Raymond Petrarca and Ray Weiss, all these guys, and they used to stay at the old cantina. So they said to me, well, when are you going to come in? I said, well, book the hall and let me know, and I'll come in the night before. So they booked the hall, and it was for the August 19th. And that Friday night, I was flying in. But prior to that, they said, the church wants to know who your best man is. I said, well, you have a son, right? Stevie? She says, yeah. I said, he'll be the best man. So, because I wasn't bringing anybody up there. So they said, well, how many people on your side? I said, just 20 people. They said, we need their names. I said, I can't give you their names. Just have a table for 20 for me. And now this guy, Ducky, is telling me, that he knows Raymond Petrarca and Ray and all these guys. He didn't know how close I was to them. So
You
that
knew them all
Friday,
too. You just kept it a secret.
so Friday night, he arranges us for to have for the out of town people a wedding reception at the old cantina. Well, I've been there 100 times. We walk in and he's all puffed up like he's going to introduce me to Raymond Petrarca because he's there every night. They see me, they push him out of the side. Hey, buddy, and we're hugging and kissing. And he's saying to me, you know him? He says, know him. He's around us for 100 years. It was the funniest thing, but it was
Right.
just,
The surprise of his life.
but not, there's where I'm getting to this is that I married a girl. We go on a honeymoon. I didn't even kiss her yet because I just saw this little girl and I thought she'd be great to have a mother to all my kids, keep her barefoot and pregnant. She's got her family around her. I moved the whole family. I bought a house with them on La Paloma Avenue in Las Vegas. The brother, his wife, their baby, the mother, the father. I moved them all to Vegas. That's a crazy story.
Wow.
But that's, it was nuts. And then I had to keep flying around. I was still with Costello. And now I'm having, Connie Francis is at the Copacabana as a headliner. And now I'm seeing her father, George, who fell in love with me because, he said, I was a young guy and I wanted nothing to do with this guy. Because most people didn't realize the entertainment business then, even not now so much, but then that's why when George went after Connie's father, went after Bobby, anybody in the entertainment world was connected somehow. Because to be a movie star, to be a record star, first of all, you had to be around wise guys because they owned the jukeboxes. Now, people in the industry don't realize what that means. If you knew those guys, your record the next day becomes a million seller. And that's legitimate. You had to sell a million records. But they owned all the jukeboxes. They owned all the Wurlitzers. Any jukebox in the United States was controlled by the mob because they had all the vending machines. So any young performer, you want to be with them because they buy a million records, put them in the jukebox, and now all the DJs are on their payroll, either getting money or cocaine. That got all blown up in the 80s. But the whole industry was and so you think about the nightclubs, mobsters own the nightclubs. Mobsters, if you want to appear in the casinos, they control that. You had to be mobbed up. Anybody that's a star, I knew right away. Like Barbara Walters' father, nobody realized Barbara Walters' father, Lou Walters, owned Wurlitzer Jukebox, and he was controlled by the mob.
Really?
That's why when I see Barbara Walters, I knew Barbara Walters all her life.
Holy smokes.
No, I mean, it's like, you can't make this stuff up. And then all the indictments that went down, and as we knew when they cleaned up all the payola and all that in the business,
Right.
then it got now it's the business that it is now. But it's crazy.
Wow. Wow. Well, okay. I've missed our mark. It's time for a commercial. Sorry, I forget I'm the one supposed to be calling the time here, but your stories are so interesting. I get all involved and then I go, hey, so let's do a quick commercial.
I'm going to do the commercial again because the holiday season is upon us. Last week, I introduced that you go to GianniRusso.com and you'll find record albums, CDs, whatever you want. My book, even right now, if you want to buy them for Christmas. And what's good about it, all the money of all this stuff goes to Gianni Believes You Can. If you read my book, at the end of the book, the last sentence in my book is, yes, you can. Because if I could do what I did, I'm encouraging people that they can. So now I have a .org. So if you're buying someone a gift, anything that you send in, 100% of it goes to .org to give underprivileged children educations. So you're buying a gift for your loved one, and indirectly you're buying an education for someone that needs it. So, but why I'm talking about this one particular album, they're limited, but I had to show you this. This is an album on Johnny Russo State Street. You can see it. I got to get the right lighting on it.
That's good.
That's me sitting on my Ferrari. And you can see the sign, Johnny Russo State Street. And the back of the album are some of the guests' photographs that used to come to my show all the time. Suzanne Summers, Paul Anka, Shirley MacLaine, Sammy Davis, Julio Inglés, nobody even saw him anymore, but all these people. And what's interesting, the album music is the full orchestra of Frank Sinatra. And Frank Sinatra, as you know, I was introduced to him by my little transistor radio at 7 years of age. And from that day on, I'm either singing Sinatra or listening to him. But this is his orchestra. And to show you the kind of friendship we had, at the end of the record session, because they have a union guy sitting there, the hours and how many, musicians and all that, I went to get the bill from the union. And just to show you the kind of man Sinatra was, he picked up the whole record session. We took about $80-something thousand. He paid for all the musicians. So
that's incredible.
This is a part of American history. There's a few of them left. If you want them, I'll sign them, personalize them, and mail them to you. And now we're back to the show. But, as we talk about like a guy like Sinatra, as I got to see Sinatra, and I knew he was a perfectionist because he was my singing teacher. I used to go to his house. He taught me breathing. He taught me so many things. But as years went on, I would go to Caesar's Palace, and he had monitors circling the whole front because he was getting senile and he couldn't remember the lyrics.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it's very important to know, because I mentioned earlier on, you couldn't be in the music business unless you were connected to somebody. So now Louis Purcell, his nickname was Louis Dome, was Louis Dome, like
Louis
a
Dome.
church.
Okay.
And why I'm saying it, he was basically now his representative to the mob. He was at Westchester World Premiere. There was a big shakedown over there. Some guys went to jail even for that because they were scalping the tickets. I mean,
Oh, wow.
this is what was going on in the industry. But I felt so bad for Sinatra. So later on, we're all in the coffee shop and all that, and we went to see Frank backstage. And I was with Louis, and I said to him later on, we're in a coffee shop. I said, Louis, why is he doing this? He's such a perfectionist. And he looked at me. He said, what's he doing what? I said, why is he showing up? I mean, Frank Sinatra, in his own right, he bought so many Budweiser beer franchises. I mean, he was worth a couple $100 million when he died.
Really?
And Louis Dome quietly looked at me and said, as long as Frank Sinatra is packing that room with players, he will sing. And I got the message. Frank Sinatra even couldn't quit the business until they told him to. I mean, so that's what it used to be. It's crazy. I mean, now, and thank God we don't have that now. But
Right.
today, it's always about the money. It's always about, and you got to watch what you wish for. And it's a
Oh, I'm
lesson
sure.
I learned
Yeah.
early on, man. You're around these people, you're around them forever. You don't get out. You
That's
get out in
wild.
a coffin or cement shoes. But and to get to back to Bobby Darin, like we mentioned, touched on a little bit. Bobby Darin, like most sick kids, and he was a sick kid, and I was a sick kid. He got rheumatic fever, and rheumatic fever affects your heart,
Right.
and not to like today. I mean, the medicine that people have, and look at me, I'm 82. Thank God to my doctors in New York Presbyterian, but what happened to him? It's this freakiest thing that can happen. He had certain medicine he had to take, and he went to the dentist and didn't take the medicine he was supposed to take, and he got a virus,
Oh, no.
and the virus affected his heart. And during open heart surgery, they were replacing two valves,
Valves, yeah.
and he never recovered, and he
Oh,
died. I mean, talk about a guy who knew when he was going to die. I mean, and as you know, and I think you pointed out to me in our research, he was such a great songwriter. He found Wayne Newton, and
that's right.
he wrote Dankeschön and never got the credit for it. But
And I mean, that's a song you hear, you think of Wayne Newton,
I
period.
know that's the song that launched Wayne Newton. So I mean, that's one thing I love about my life, because I just
The songs he wrote were, well, and I have a hard time I know I listened to Elvis, I listened to Engelbert, and I listened to Tom Jones. They all sang all of the same songs. I have no idea who did it first. And even Bobby Darin's songs, other people sang those, but I didn't attribute those songs coming from him. Probably, what year did he die? Do you remember?
Do I remember? I remember it so well. He died in 71. He was
Oh, wow.
66 years old. And why I remember it even more so, I was in his audience a week before
Oh, wow.
at the Desert Inn Hotel, and was the first time I was ever introduced by a star of that caliber in the audience, because I just completed shooting the movie The Godfather.
Oh, wow.
And the movie came out February of 72. And he introduced me for the first time. I knew him already from being around. And then I was never an actor. That was my first movie. But to be introduced by Bobby Darin, and we all knew he was sick because he had oxygen
Oh,
side stage if he
wow.
needed it, because he'd get heart palpitations.
Holy
And he
smokes.
excused himself for a minute and took a shot of oxygen. And we were backstage with him. And a week later, he died. And he died on the operating table trying to replace another valve. I mean, this stuff is like insanity. That's why I wanted to keep it closer to the end because it's so morbid. He
Yeah.
actually died in 1971, getting the new valve, and he was going to be 37 years old.
37?
37 when
Oh
he
my
died.
God.
You know, it's so, and if you really look him up and see some of the songs that he wrote.
Oh, yeah. Incredible songs. I had no idea. Splish Splash. Did I say it right?
Oh, Splish Splash, Taking a Bath, all that.
Yeah.
All of his rock and roll.
Great
Well,
song.
he started in the business that way, and then he became a crooner,
He's
and then he
amazing.
became a headliner. And
That's wild.
and to get back to the mob, we were at a memorial for him in Vegas. They had a great. I mean, he was a big star,
Yeah.
and I'm sitting where I can't even mention a couple of these guys that are still alive. And I was really very remorseful because it's such a great talent to die and all that.
Right.
And I said to one of the guys, I said, it's a shame that he's gone so far. He said, you
Sure.
don't even know what you're talking about. I said, what?
What's that
You
mean?
know how much money we're losing because of this guy's dead? I couldn't believe it. I mean, that's why, you know, I'm around these people all my life. They have a way with words that are really not good sometimes, but
Yeah, I guess.
it's and it brings me back to even Sinatra. Why here's a man that had all the money in the world,
Oh,
he
yeah.
just married Barbara, which I can't even get into that one because I knew her long before most people. When she
Barbara? Well, I thought
Barbara
did he
Sinatra.
marry Sandra D?
No, that you're talking about Bobby Darin's wife.
Oh, sorry. Barbara
Yeah.
was married to Frank.
Yeah, his last wife.
Sorry.
And Sandra D, he was married to. And then that was the love of his life. They met on a movie set. And I forgot what movie that was actually. But like, you know, he was a big movie star. And so was Connie Francis.
Yeah.
Connie Francis made a lot of big, but she started doing more with Frankie Avalon later on. That beach,
Oh,
that beach bongo bingo, all that stuff. They did duets but you know, it's crazy. And I should not be shocked by the how could I use it? The insensitivity of the
oh,
mob
I'll say.
because it's always equated by the money. You don't have no idea how much money we lost because he was their major headline at the Desert Inn at that time. Now,
Oh,
who's going to replace him? And guess who replaced him?
who?
The guy he created, Wayne Newton.
Right. And he had given that Donkashane to Wayne Newton.
I know. And that was
That's
his first hit. And then Walter Kane came in because I was through that whole transition because the federal government is not allowed in free enterprise. They awarded Howard Hughes a helicopter contract during the Vietnam War that the profits from the helicopter business were their contracts. He had the sole contract with the understanding that money he'd start buying hotels up in Las Vegas so they can infiltrate and find out where all this money's going. So Howard Hughes was the front, Then all of a sudden you're seeing in Vegas people like Bill Dana, Bob Mayhew.
Oh, who are those guys? I don't know.
Well, I'm going to tell you who they are. All CIA, FBI agents.
Oh my gosh.
That's how they infiltrated the mob. That's how the mob eventually was pushed out of Vegas. And now it's all major
Out
corporations.
Disneyland.
They brought federal female agents in to become cocktail waitresses. They were looking at even the tax returns on women who were cocktail waitresses who were claiming they made $20, $30 a shift. They were making $200 or $300 a shift.
Oh
Because
yeah.
these guys were, well, the good news about that, that's when all the chips were interchangeable. See, Vegas was so smart. When they created Vegas, most people don't know this. They sat down with the syndicate because they wanted no trouble there. They wanted no scandals. You never saw a scandal. There was never a murder in Vegas. There was no crime in Vegas because I'll give you, for instance, the Stardust Hotel was controlled by Chicago. St. Louis had the Aladdin. New England had the Dunes, Patriarch, all them. Detroit had the Riviera Hotel. All these hotels were mobbed up. And why I'm bringing it up, that's how well I knew Barbara. She was a showgirl. And the showgirls at that time, every showroom had a show going. They got it from the Copacabana. So the Copacabana had showgirls. They come and do their kicks and all that. Every show in Vegas, when they controlled it, had a line. But what people don't realize, between shows and after shows, those girls had to get dressed and come out and converse with the players.
Oh.
And they taught the showgirls how to get their hand like this and palm and count. They were sitting there counting their people's chips, but when they palmed the chips, they would grab 3 or 4 chips by holding them, and then they'd rub their chest or something, and the chips would disappear in their bra. But there were $5,000 chips, $1,000 chips. These guys were so drunk. I mean, so I knew Barbara Marx. She married Harpo Marx first. Did you know that?
No. Mary Harpo?
Harpo Marx. She had a son with him, Bobby. And then for Sinatra, she went after Sinatra and got him. And he fell head over heels with her. And at that time, he was already Luciano's godfather, my son. We were banned to see him when he got sick.
Oh.
Because she wanted control of him. In fact, the daughters, the son already died, he had a heart attack. But the daughters knew the father was getting sick. Frank sent for the daughters, and she never told the girls. They heard it on the radio.
Oh my God.
That their father died. That's why nobody realizes the hatred that they had, even during the wills and everything else. Because Nancy was the head. I'm not Nancy, the older daughter. What's her name? Jesus. She was named after the grandmother. But
Dolly?
oh no, let me think about it. I'll get it.
Was
But
her name
anyway,
Dolly?
no, but no, I'm saying that no, Dolly was the grandmother. No,
Yeah. Oh, okay.
no, but well, his oldest daughter controlled his library.
Oh, okay.
And they fought over that. And to the day that she died, finally, Barbara died, that was it. And they were still in lawsuits. But
Tina.
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 Yeah, Tina. And he wanted me to go with Tina. I'm a gorgeous lady, but she's like a truck driver. She's like a mother, a grandmother. You know, grandmother, F this, F that. Well, she used curse words. Well, she was, nobody knew that Sinatra's mother was a barmaid.
Oh, that's right.
Hoboken. I mean, she was like a truck driver. She'd hit people over the head. The guys got out of order on the bar. She hit him with a bottle. And his father was such a meek guy. He worked at Todd Shipyard, but the mother and Tina was just like I'm saying, like I said, Frank, no, you don't want me as a son-in-law. No, I think you'd be good. I said, no. I forget it. As much as I wanted to forget it, but no, thank God.
The ball buster. You're like, he's like, she's too mean.
But I mean, it's crazy. Well, when you think about the mob and how they control everything, but they did made a lot of money for a lot of people. But they were never, and I learned early on because even with me, I knew to stay away from it. And thank God I had people that kept me away from it because I probably would have been enticed to be in the mob early on. But
Well,
thank God I didn't.
that's right. Well, the entertainment there. So she had lots of songs. I heard that she was on Dick Clark's show. Now, I know he had Dick Clark had a show, American Bandstand. Is that the only show he ever had? Do you know?
Yeah, well, Dick Clark had American Bandstand, but you're talking about Nancy Sinatra,
Right, sorry.
not Tina. Tina didn't perform at
Oh,
all.
oh, that's right.
Nancy Sinatra, her big hit was These Boots Were Made for Walking.
Right.
And don't you remember when he had the big party for her at Caesar's
Oh
Palace?
yeah.
I landed a helicopter outside. He wanted to kill me. He didn't talk to me for months.
That's crazy. So as far as like Sinatra and like Tina Sinatra, was Connie Francis, she was more Frank's age, right?
Oh yeah.
Daughters.
Oh yeah, Connie Francis. No, not really. No, she was a big star as a teenager, not Frank's age. No, she was their age, but she was a hip hop star early on.
Oh, okay.
In her teens, she was at the Copa in her teens.
This young girl in there.
She was 10 years, 15 years before Tina. And if Tina,
Nancy.
He's saying Tina. Nancy, she was a good singer, but not a great singer. But I don't think she would have made the stardom unless it was Frank Sinatra pushing
Right.
it. And, again, that worked indirectly. She was connected to the mob. So
that's wild. So with Connie Francis, is her career, did she keep singing forever? I mean,
ever and ever and ever. She retired when she wanted.
And now she's in Florida, right?
Yeah, she's in Florida. I think she's 89 now, in good health. And I don't know what happened to the last guy she married, but she has a son they adopted. She never had a child.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I don't want to give the kid's name. He's still alive. He's 50 years old now. And so they have a nice life.
Well, that's great. Well, that's neat to hear all these stories. And you have been around through so many different careers. It's just incredible.
So many different facets of the business. It's insane.
Right. The people you've met and the people, there's probably not a lot of people that have had your life, because first of all, you've had two different careers. One just being around all that stuff, as owning your bar and being part of Frank Costello's life. Then you become a big movie star and in The Godfather, and then you meet a whole another realm of celebrities and people that it's incredible. And then at times those worlds collide. So
they crisscross all the time. Like when we started doing this, I realized I met her when she was a teenager. It was 1960. She was at the Copa, and they recorded the album live from there, and they released it in 61. I was 17. It was crazy. Are we ready for another commercial?
Yeah, well, we're about ready to be all done. You better get a commercial in before we're over. Yeah. I'm sorry. I got to get better on these commercials because I
No. I'll remember. Believe me, me and money, I don't know what that's about.
That's right.
But, like we said, the other thing that I think is really important, I want you to go to the app for Cameo. Buy the app. And I'm doing this for a long time. And what's nice about this, as far as longevity, I will do a Cameo, videotape it, for 2 or 3 minutes. Say anything you want me to do on that cameo, and you have it on your phone memorialized forever. So it's me talking to you personally, giving you that message, and you could show all your friends. So
That's right.
Cameo, whatever that what do they call them? You got to download their app,
Right.
and then put Johnny Russo in, and they contact me, and I'll do that's for you. This is also for the holidays, and a portion of that, because I don't own that portion of that money also goes to Gianni Believes You Can, my.org, that gives scholarships for underprivileged kids.
Well, I love that, Gianni, and I will make sure we get those in the show notes. And I know a lot of you listen to us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We're in so many places. We're also on Facebook and Instagram. So I'll make sure those links are on there as well, so you guys can look at it that way, and like us, follow us. We love the
Please
support.
like us.
Please
That's
like
what I
us.
was going to say earlier before we went to the commercial break. I hear people always, I wouldn't even mention their names and honor them that I know their names. But there's a lot of wise guys, real wise guys, that even killers have podcasts now.
Right.
And they say, oh, he does this, he does that, he does it. Like one of them said, I know him. How could I know him? He was like 15, 20 years my junior. So when I was 21 at the Copa, he was 7 years old. How do I know you? I wouldn't even mention who they are. They know who they are, but they're always bad-mouthing me. But you should listen to some of my podcasts. It proves that I've done this, and it's written about it all over the world.
Right.
Too bad you have no lives, guys, and you're trying to sell a life of crime as being somebody.
Well, it's amazing how many people and people love them and listen to their shows, which I'm not knocking. I listen to all sorts of things, but it's funny how forgiving people are. I'm like, these are known killers, and they've got lots of followers. So hey, help us compete.
But yes, so many people early on have always been enamored with the mob. Thank
Sure.
God. That's how Humphrey Bogart had a career. Edward G. Robbins had a career early on before the mob was so exploited.
Right.
So with saying that, stay tuned to our show every week, every Wednesday, a new show. We really appreciate having you as a listener, and stay healthy. Jeannie, love you.
Love you.
We'll see you on the radio.
That's right. See you next time.
And that was that. But I'll be back.
No regrets, no complaints. Lived a life with no restraints. The little kid they all counted out, proved them all wrong, that's without a doubt. Laying there with my left side numb, 5-year bout with polio, but yes, I won. From standing on corners like how many pens you want, to living in a bakery, then opening my own restaurant. Of course, I had some help along the way, friends like Frank Costello that I miss each and every day. Things from many years ago still resonate.